Hi, welcome to week 15 of Little Learners. We've got some fun stuff to do today. We have James Anderson going to give us a little talk about where our Ohio animals go in the winter. So that'll be fun. We've got a new story. What else? We're going to work in our winter book and we're going to review some letters again. So with that, we will get started. We're going to sing our Bob the Snail song. So get in your packets and get out your snails. You're going to have to know how to whistle. Give that a try. And let's start.
Bob's my favorite snail, and I know he really loves me. He's the classiest snail you could ever hope to know. Oh, and I wish he didn't smell, but I know he can't help it. He's lived in the same shell since I got him long ago. And if I ever need him, all I have to do is call him, and I know he'll come running. Well, I guess he'll come crawling, so I guess I better call him about a week before I need him, so that I'll see him. Hello, Bob. Right about on time. And it's not his fault. No, it's not his fault. He's a little bit slow. He can't help it if he's got little itty bitty teeny tiny slippery slimy pokier than miny toes. And sometimes when I'm sleeping I like to cuddle with him, then I put him on my nose. We look into each other's eyes, and sometimes in the morning he's on my forehead snoring. I know he didn't sleep well, he must have walked all night. And if I ever need him, all I have to do is call him, and I know he'll come running. Well, I guess he'll come crawling, so I guess I better call him about a week before I need him, so that I'll see him. Hello, Bob. Right about on time. And it's not his fault. He's a little bit slow. He can't help it if he's got little itty bitty teeny tiny slippery slimy pokier than miny toes. Yes, I guess I better call him about a week before I need him, so that I'll see him. Hello, Bob. Right about on time. Bob's my favorite snail.
That was a silly snail song.
Hi, we're going to do something a little different with Madman today. We are going to stand him on his head. So get your wooden pieces out and follow along. Ready? Madman has 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet. Madman has 2 feet, waving in the air. Madman has 2 legs, 2 legs, 2 legs. Madman has 2 legs to hold up his feet. Madman has 1 body, 1 body, 1 body. Madman has 1 body to hold what's inside. Madman has 2 arms, 2 arms, 2 arms. Madman has 2 arms to do his handstand. Madman has 2 hands, 2 hands, 2 hands. Madman has 2 hands to hold himself upright. Madman has 1 head, 1 head, 1 head. Madman has 1 head so that he can think. Madman has 2 ears, 2 ears, 2 ears. Madman has 2 ears so that he can hear. Madman has 2 eyes, 2 eyes, 2 eyes. Madman has 2 eyes so that he can see. Madman has one nose, one nose, one nose. Madman has one nose so that he can smell. Madman has one mouth, one mouth, one mouth. Madman has one mouth so that he can smile. Did you make yours upside down? It's pretty funny.
It's time to do the alphabet cards. Are you ready? Say the letters with me. Big A, little a. Big B, little b. Big C, little c. Big D, little d. Big E, little e. Big F, little f. Big G, little g. Big H, little h. Big I, little I. Big J, little j. Big K, little k. Big L, little l. Big M, little m. Monsters munch on muffins that Mama Monster made.
Mmm, mmm, mmm.
Make one for me. Big N, little n. Nick has freckles on his nose. He must have 99.
Mmm, mmm, mmm.
Nancy's nose has none. Big O, little o. Oscar turns the light on. Olive turns it off.
Oh, oh, oh.
Off and on, off and on. Big P, little p. Pedro Pig ate pudding and pumpkin pie for lunch.
Puh, puh, puh.
With lots of purple punch. Big Q, little q. Quietly beneath the quilt, the queen's quadruplets sleep.
Quah, quah, quah.
Quick, come see. Big R, little r. Rachel rode her racehorse. Round and round they ran.
Er.
Rachel won the race.
Okay. If you want to get your laminated cards out and your Play-Doh, we will work on our next letters. So go ahead and get your Play-Doh out and make some long snakes for me. And when you get that done, the first letter we're going to make is a U. Like umbrella or underwear. Our next letter is a V. See, this one is rounded. This one has a sharp corner at the bottom, like a point. So this is U, and this is V. Volcano, vine, or vulture. U and V. Turn your card over. Our next two letters are W and X. So we might have to make our snakes longer to go around all the curves on that W. So let's start it up here at the top. Come down and up and down and up. And there is our W. And our X, you're going to need two snakes. Two lines. One going this way and one slanting this way. And we have W and we have an X. A W is for web and watermelon and wheel. And an X is for X-ray and xylophone. Let's go ahead and make 2 more letters. Our last 2 letters in the alphabet are Y and Z. So let's get our snakes all stretched out here. I'm going to start up here with the Y and bring it down. I'm going to pinch off the end and bring it back up here. So here is our Y. And our Z, it's going to take a very long snake. Whoops. And if it breaks, you just put it back together. So keep rolling, 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 rolling. We're going to start at the top. We always start at the top. It goes horizontally, then slants. And I'm going to have to add a little bit more to make my Z. Y is for yarn, and yak, and yo-yo. And Z is for zucchini, zipper, and Z. If you want to get out your winter books, remember we did our mittens and our cookies. Today, we're going to draw what we like to do on a winter's day. And so that means, let's see, we're going to draw, what do I like to do? I know what I like to do. I like to feed the birds. So I'm going to draw me feeding the birds. So, like Madman, this is our body, my body. My feet, my arms, and my hands. And let's see, I've got a bag of bird seed right here. What do you guys like to do? Sledding? Snowman building? Let's see, there's all kinds of bird seed in here. And I'm going to mill it. This is my little bird feeder up here. Kind of crooked because I'm drawing it on the side here. And it's hanging in a tree. And let's see. I'm going to put a red bird in my bird feeder because he's waiting on the bird seed. But I think it's cold outside, so I'm going to put a coat on me. So I'm going to put a blue coat on. What are you guys doing? Are you drawing sleds? Snowmen? Put some big black boots on me. Remember, little scribbles for coloring in. There's my boots. I bet you I need a big hat. It's cold out. This is my hat. That's the funniest looking hat I ever saw. And let's see. And my nose. What do you think? You guys finish your drawing? And you can show them to me on our Zoom meetings, or you can email them to me. Hi, we are going to read 10 in the Bed by Jane Cabrera. Here is the little one, a tired, sleepy head, stretching and yawning. He's ready for bed, but there were 10 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all rolled over and the snorer fell out. 9. There were 9 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all rushed over and the cook fell out. 8. There were 8 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all bounced over and the trumpeter fell out. 7. There were 7 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all groaned over and the doctor fell out. After 7, what is there? What's the next number? I can get the page turned. 6. There were 6 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all leaped over and the ballerina fell out. See her? 5. Here's our 5. There were 5 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all swayed over and what? The pirate fell out. 4. There were 4 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all bowed over and what? The princess fell out. 3. There were 3 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So they all wobbled over and the pilot fell out. Now how many's left in the bed? 2. There were 2 in the bed, and the little one said, "Move over, move over." So the astronaut floated over and she fell out of bed. How many's left in the bed now? 1. There was 1 in the bed, and everyone said, "Move over, move over." So the little one moved over and what happened? Fell out. So they all danced about, and then the little one screamed and he gave a big shout, "Settle down now, settle down now." So they all settled down and they went to sleep. There was not a sound, there was not a peep until the little one said, what do you think he said? "Good night." 10 in a bed.
Hi everybody, this is Naturalist James Anderson from the Marion Parks District. Hopefully you're doing well, keeping safe, keeping warm. So again, welcome to another episode of Naturals Lessons with me, Naturalist James Anderson. And today we're going to be talking about how do animals, how do they live here during the winter season? So, you know, Ohio's not always the funnest place to live in, especially during the winter time, because it's always very cold, very snowy, very icy. But we're definitely going to be talking about hibernation, migration, and how do they toughen out? We'll also be talking about some fun ways on how you can help your local wildlife out. So I like to thank the Perry Cook Memorial Library, which is located in Morrow County. They kind of asked me to do this episode for them for their preschool program, the A to Z. My son was a part of that program. And so I said, sure, I'll help you guys out. So I know I've made a episode way back, probably 2 or 3 years ago, about this, but I kind of condensed it down for preschool age students. So I hope you guys enjoy the program. So you may be wondering, what is hibernation? So hibernation is a long period when animals go to sleep during the winter season. So you probably guys like taking naps, right? During the day. Well, these animals again take a long winter's nap because during the winter season, there's not a lot of food out in the wild, is there? So yes, there may be some nuts and some berries, but other than that, there's really not a lot available. So you either have to tough it out, you may have to move away or migrate, or you may have to hibernate. So when these animals are hibernating, their body is not shut down completely, but it's very slow. So a lot of them, their heart rate when they're active during the summertime, it goes do 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 do. And then when it's hibernating, they just go very, very, very slow. So you adults who are watching, here's a fun fact. Did you know when groundhogs are active, their heart rate's about 110, 120 beats per minute, but when they're hibernating, it's about 4 to 5 beats per minute. That seems like they're barely alive, right? But yeah, they're still able to keep functioning. And also to adults, they're like groundhogs, their body temperatures actually go down to just above freezing. So that's pretty cool. Now, not a lot of our wildlife can do that, but some like groundhogs can. Some of the examples of some of the wildlife that hibernate here in the state of Ohio are bears, groundhogs, bats, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and some insect species. And probably one of our best hibernators we have here in the state of Ohio is a painted turtle. You usually see these guys sometimes out on the road during the summertime. So painted turtles, they're pretty special. So they actually hibernate down in the bottom of a pond or a wetland. And you're probably wondering, well, how do they breathe? So their lungs are pretty good size, but they actually, and here's a fun fact, I know a lot of you guys will think this is funny, but they actually can absorb some of the oxygen. Now the oxygen's a little bit different in the water than it is in the air, but they actually can absorb some of the oxygen through their butts. But the technical name is actually called the cloaca. And but yeah, it's really interesting on how painted turtles do that. And but as they're hibernating, their muscles are going to get really, really stiff. And so hopefully kind of late winters, early spring day, if it's nice and sunny, they got to get out. They got to get out in the sun, because if they don't, they get a really, really bad muscle cramp. Have you had a muscle cramp before? It's not fun, is it? Well, try imagining having a muscle cramp lasting for about 2 or 3 months or longer. So now that we have talked about hibernation, what it is, and some of the examples, but where do wildlife hibernate? Well, this cool little picture shows about some of the wildlife hide in different places. As you can see, depending on what kind of wildlife you are will mean where you might go. So some of the wildlife may go down deep into the ground. Some might stay right at above ground level. Some might actually stay up in the snow covering. And some, like turtles, may be able to hibernate underneath water. So now that we have talked about hibernation and some of the examples of wildlife that hibernates in the state of Ohio, now I kind of want to talk about how do they get ready for hibernation? So I know you're probably saying, well, that's easy, you just take a nap. Well, you can, but you gotta remember, during the hibernation time, these animals aren't going to be moving a lot. So what they have to do during the fall time, this is when they're very, very busy, they're going to be eating. Now I know you're going to be saying, well, I can eat and I can take a nap, but as they're eating, they're gaining a lot of that fat. So as they're sleeping or hibernating during the winter season, they're able to burn off of that fat so they don't have to constantly go out in the cold for looking for food, because during the fall there's a little bit more food for wildlife. Rather it is natural or in our yards or on other people's property. So this is time when you're going to see animals like groundhogs and bears. They're going to just be eating and eating and eating. And also too, you're going to be seeing them very, very active. They're going to be out there looking for food. And this is a really good time to see a lot of groundhogs around your yard or around your neighborhood or your parks or wherever you can find groundhogs. Now, bears we don't really have in Morrow or Marion County. They're more in northeastern Ohio, Cleveland, and southeastern Ohio around Hocking Hills. That's where most of the bears are in the state of Ohio.
So now we're going to talk about migration.
So migration is when an animal has to move from point A to point B. So we have a lot of animals that will travel hundreds, even thousands of miles to get to their destinations. Because as we kind of talked about, during the winter season, there's not a lot of food out there. So these guys have to travel to usually warmer places. So southern United States, South America, those are just some of the examples of some of our migrational routes that a lot of our wildlife do, like monarch butterflies, some dragonfly species, and of course a lot of our birds. A lot of you guys might see birds like hummingbirds in your backyard, and next thing you know it, they're gone. Geese you'll see flying in a V shape. They're heading down south for the most part. We do have some that stay during the winter time, but most of all these guys, again, they don't want the cold. They want to be in warmer areas so they can find food a lot easier than what they would do right now here in Ohio.
So next we're going to talk about toughening it out for the winter season.
So when you hear me say toughen it out, you're probably, well, what does that mean? So we talked about migration and hibernation, but we really haven't talked about toughening it out. So some of our wildlife, like mammals, so that would include like squirrels and chipmunks and cottontail rabbits and deer. Those are just some of the examples. So a lot of these guys, what they do during the fall season, as it's getting cooler, their fur is going to get thicker and thicker. So if you guys have a pet dog, especially if they spend a lot of time outside, kind of pay attention to their fur. What's happening? Again, it's just getting more thick. It's just like the coat, kind of like I'm wearing. And again, it keeps them warm. And the semi-aquatic animals, so the beavers, the otters, the muskrats, they're also gaining, again, a lot of that dense fur, but they're getting that top fur that's getting very oily, so it keeps them very dry and doesn't get their skin wet. Because you've probably been inside a bathtub or a pool or something, and then as soon as you get out, you get really cold. Well, again, those types of wildlife don't want to get cold, especially during the winter season. But some of our wildlife do some cool things with their fur. Now, they can't automatically say, hey, I want to change the color of my fur. Their bodies say, okay, we need to change because we need to camouflage. I bet you all have heard of camouflage or camo, right? It's that pattern, greens and browns, and sometimes other colors, and blend in so you can match your environment or your background. So some, like our weasels and snowshoe hares, they go from usually a brown color to almost a completely white color. So that's pretty cool that they're able to do that. Now, we do have some wildlife, as I mentioned earlier, that kind of tough it out. So they stay pretty active for a good chunk of the winter, but when it gets really cold, they gotta hunker down, rather in their nests or underneath a log or a tree, or sometimes your house, and they kind of stay there for a little bit of time until it warms back up. I know this is a new word for a lot of you kids and even adults, but some animals actually go through a temporary hibernational state called Toppor. And again, that just basically means a temporary hibernation period, just when it's really cold out, and then when it warms up, again, they're active again. But some of our examples of wildlife who do that are raccoons, opossums, squirrels, chipmunks, So a lot of people don't realize we only have just a very few wildlife that really do hibernation, but a lot of them again do that Toppor.
So here I'm underneath a log, and as you can see, all these little shavings. Here's just my stick, my pointer. These shavings that some type of critter is trying to get ready for the winter time. Also, too, look at these nuts. They're being chewed on. So these guys might be again gaining fat for the winter time. So again, they want to able to burn off that fat during the cold winter season. So some of our wildlife, like squirrels and chipmunks, they'll actually will store a lot of acorns, hickories, buckeyes, and they'll put them underneath logs. Sometimes they'll actually bury them underneath the ground. And we used to think they used their nose to find the nuts that they buried, but we actually found out they're actually very good at remembering where they put them. And but just like people, they do forget. And if they forgot the nut that they buried, guess what? It grows into a tree. So I like calling squirrels and chipmunks volunteer tree planters. So we get acorns and we get hickories and buckeyes. So without those kinds of animals, our forests or our world would look very different.
So another way on how these animals may have to tough it out is they may actually have to switch their diets. An American robin is a great example of that. As you see in this picture, this robin is eating an earthworm, which they typically eat during the spring, summer, and early fall season. Well, during the winter season, there's not a lot of earthworms available. So the ones that do stay here during the winter time, some do migrate. Again, they may have to switch their diet from earthworms to seeds or berries. Again, there's different kinds of wildlife that will do that as well, switching what's basically available during the winter time. But you might be asking yourself, what can I do to help out the wildlife in my backyard during the winter season?
Well, if you like feeding birds, or if you have parents, grandparents, neighbors, friends, other family members that like feeding birds, encourage them to do so. Because again, during the winter time, there's not a lot of food sources out there. So feeding your birds will really help them out. Of course, you can go to places like Walmart, Tractor Supply Company, Menards. I mean, I just could go on and on. A lot of different stores that offer bird seed. And there's seed, there's suet cakes. There's all sorts of things that you can find to help your local birds. Now, I know the Christmas season is going to be coming up. So after you're done with your live trees, some of you might use live trees that you put in your living rooms or other places around your homes. Instead of throwing them away or burning them, you actually, if you have a large property, you can kind of cut off the branches and then you can kind of put them in a pile. That's what actually is called brush cover, and that helps some of our wildlife like songbirds and rabbits and sometimes foxes. So that can definitely help them out. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this program. Hopefully you learned about what do some of our local wildlife, what do they do during the winter season. Again, a little recap. We talked about that some of our wildlife do hibernate. We have some that do tough it out, and we do have some that migrate. So pay attention this winter. I know sometimes winter's not always the fun season like summer, but wildlife are active. You just got to keep your eye out. And as I mentioned in the video, there are some fun ways on how you can help your local wildlife on your property. Well, guys, again, I hope you enjoyed the program. Have fun, be safe, but most of all, go out and explore your Marion County parks. And I also like to thank the Prairie Cook Memorial Library for reaching out to me to do this program. I'll see you guys next time with Natural Lessons with me, Naturalist James Anderson. Bye, everybody.